What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So if you're unaware, there has actually been a patch that was just recently released for the Diablo 2 Reimagined mod. It's going to be patch 1.21. If you're anything like me, you don't feel like sitting here and reading through 17, 18, 19, 20 pages of patch notes just to know what the differences are and what things might be changing for your character or other characters just in general, or just all the new features that have been implemented into the game. So I decided what I would do is I will go ahead and just read them for you, so that way you can just listen to this in the background while you're, I don't know, bored at work, or maybe you're just cleaning stuff up in your house, you got some chores to do, maybe you're outside working on your car or something like that, right? At least this way you can just play it in the background and listen to it and pick a few things up, and then after that just go and enjoy the game instead of having to read through all that stuff. So let's just go ahead and get started. So once again, this is going to be patch number 1.21. This video is being recorded on the 21st of October. So if you are watching this years in the future, I don't know why you would be, but if you are, then a lot of this is probably changed and not the same. Let's just go ahead and get into it. So patch 1.210, pre 2.0 update, quality of life and bug fixes. This update is the last major update you will see before the release of 2.0 of D2R Reimagined. I usually just refer to it as D2RR. I just don't feel like saying D2R Reimagined over and over, so if you hear me saying D2RR, that's what I'm talking about. So we have no estimates at this time on how long before 2.0 releases. Expect large changes to Hell in the 2.0 release, and expect a launcher with large amounts of configuration options. That is great. I'm looking forward to that. It'd be nice to get a launcher for this. I know I play a lot of Median XL. Median XL has a launcher, but temper your expectations. I can tell you that now, because although that sounds great, at least with the Median XL launcher, there really isn't all that much you can really change. Like, we're talking about a loot filter, you know, things like that that you can add in there, and that's about it. A couple things I do want to mention, because I am part of the Discord. Also, if you're not part of the D2R Reimagined Discord, you should probably get in there, because they talk a lot about this stuff. That's how I found out this was happening today, and there's actually way more information on that Discord than there's going to be even in these patch notes right here. For example, it says we don't know how long it's going to be for 2.0, but on the Discord they're telling us it's probably going to be a couple of months. So probably, like, I'd say 3 or 4 months, and then they should be ready to put out 2.0 for release. Large changes to Hell. They actually asked us all in a poll if we feel like Hell is not difficult enough anymore, because you get so much more power in this version of the game that people are saying there's an over implementation of power creep, right? So there's just too much power for our player characters by the time we get to Hell that it's kind of becoming a cakewalk. So in that poll, they asked us all, what do we think about that? A lot of us said that we agree and that we want the game to be harder. So that actually won in the poll. So most likely whenever 2.0 is released, they're probably going to make Hell harder. So just be aware of that, and it doesn't mean it's going to be so hard you're not going to be able to beat it. You're still going to be able to beat it. It's because you're going to have way more power. Not to mention, one thing that's kind of getting slept on right now, if you haven't really played D2 in a long time, is in this mod there's a lot of cube recipes that can make you way stronger. It's way easier for you to get the kind of gear that you actually need. I think they touch on that in this patch. And also, if you're interested in that, I'm going to be releasing another video that's just going to be like the basics of cube recipes. I want to get into that. I think a lot of people really don't get how that system works, and I want to show people how that system works, because the number one thing that I like about modded Diablo 2 is that you can have all of these different crafting options. Like, for example, before D2RR, I was huge into Median XL, and the reason I liked Median XL, and if you haven't tried it, go ahead and give that one a shot too, but the reason I liked Median XL is because there was a whole lot of crafting that you could do. They have this system with these crystals. Whenever you would get a unique, you could destroy that unique, and it would turn into a shard of an arcane crystal. You would put those together, and I think 5 would give you a crystal, and you could use one of those to upgrade a unique to the next level. So that's just an example. So I really think that that's one thing that people should really be looking into if you're at the point of modding Diablo 2, is just how much fun you can have with the crafting systems, because for, you know, this game, the crafting is pretty good. It is pretty good, and especially considering this is a modded version of Diablo 2 Resurrected as opposed to the original version of Diablo 2, I really think you guys would have a lot of fun with that. I apologize for my rant, and let's continue. In-game menu, a cube recipe menu were updated. What that means is in-game now, you can actually click on a tab when you go to the pause menu, and when you click on this tab, it's going to show you the different recipes that you can use for some of the cube recipes. Now, I've looked in there already. There isn't all of the recipes, because I think there's like over 1,000 cube recipes right now, so they're still working on implementing all of those into the actual user interface for the game, but they do have a good majority of them now, and they have probably what I would consider to be the most important recipes. You can straight up look at those in game now instead of having to go to the website and you know, research and figure out which one is which. So with that, the splash charm upgrade recipes have been added to the menu. Jewel upgrade recipes have been added to the menu. Orb of socketing recipe has been added to the menu. Jewel punch socketing recipes have been added to the menu. This game is a lot like Median XL in the sense that you can take a piece of equipment. Say you have a white staff and you want it to have 4, sockets in it. Get 4 jewels, put it in the cube, and as long as that particular staff can roll up to 4 sockets, when you put those jewels into the cube and you transmute them, it will put 4 sockets into that staff. So that's what they mean by the jewel punching socketing recipes, and there is more we'll get more in depth into, but just be aware that that is a thing, and you can do that, and it makes it way easier for you to prepare items for rune words. Also, rune word videos are coming too. Class balancing from 2.4 and beyond. This is referencing the fact that for the latest season in actual D2R, they actually did change a lot in the game, and a lot of this is part of that. So a lot of these changes that have been implemented today are actually from that patch, from the real D2R. Not saying this isn't a real game, but you know what I'm saying. Custom menu updates. Character balancing menu title updated to D2R Reimagined character balancing. All that's telling you is they changed the little name there, so now it actually says character balancing as opposed to what it said before. Mod info menu title updated to D2R Reimagined crafting recipes. So instead of it just saying mod info, it now says D2R Reimagined crafting recipes. It just makes it easier for people who have no clue what they're doing to find what they're looking for. Barbarian info panel updated with the new information. Blizzard 2.4 changes which were unmodified / present were omitted, including other class changes here. So there's going to be other class changes here. All they're saying there is before the 2.4 patch, things were a little bit different for the Barbarian, and now that the Barbarian has changed, it's been updated, so now you should be able to see that new information too. Okay, so moving on. First, sorry for that atrocious jump cut. I'm sure it is going to be a terrible jump cut because I actually stopped the video. The reason I stopped is because I felt like the background music was just a little bit too loud, so if you were thinking that too, I apologize, but I didn't feel like re-recording 10 minutes of what I had just done. So let's just continue. The thing I'd left off with was the information update for the Barbarian on the panel, so I don't need to go over that again. So we are going to go straight into character changes now, and we are going to start with the Necromancer. So Necromancer changes. Bone Spear. Teeth synergies are increased from 7% to 8%. Bone Wall synergy increased from 7% to 8%. Bone Spear synergy increased from 7% to 8%. Bone Prison synergy increased from 7 to 8%. All this means is the Bone Spear Necromancer should be a little bit tankier now and do a little bit more damage. So all in all, that's a win for the Necromancer. Bone Spirit. Thief synergies are increased from 6 to 8%, which is actually a nice little bump there. 6 to 8, that's definitely going to be good. Bone Wall synergy increased from 6 to 8. Bone Spear synergy increased from 6 to 8. And Bone Prison synergy increased from 6 to 8%. So all in all, Bone Necromancers are looking quite a bit nice now. So if you are a Bone Necromancer, be happy because you got buffed instead of getting nerfed. Weaken. Damage reduction now scales based on level from just 33% to now 33% and 1% per level. Am I reading this wrong? Because pretty sure that right here, I don't know if this is a typo or what, guys, but it says from 33% to now 33%, which I'm pretty sure is the exact same thing, or I don't know, maybe they mean the 33% and 1% per level. Maybe that's what's different now, is you're getting 1% per level. I'm not 100% on that, so I apologize. Skill description updated. Overwritten D2RR skill desk with Blizzard 2.4 skill desk. I don't know what changed. Okay, so yeah, cool. Blizzard dev comments. For the weekend skill, we added new damage reduction scaling to give more reason to spend additional points on the skill and to give it a more powerful identity. So I'm assuming this means the +1 per level is what they changed. I could be mistaken, but that's what it's sounding like to me. Decrepify. Tooltip updated to now show the status changes. Barbarian changes. Unused skill tree skill slots removed. So obviously that is what it is. Skill mastery skill got a skill slot background. Double swing moved to the first row since it is a level 1 skill. Bash skill requirement removed from double swing. Throwing mastery level requirement changed correctly to 1 as stated in the Barbarian changelog. Sword mastery. Melee mastery in D2RR. Increased base attack rating bonus to 40% from 28%, so that's nice. That means you're obviously going to be hitting things way more now with this buff. That's a pretty substantial buff from 28% up to 40%, so that again is a win for the Barbarian. Leap. Baseline minimum distance increased from 4 to 8, as in D2R 2.4. I'm not going to repeat those anymore. Just be aware that what they're saying here is the changes that were implemented in original D2R 2.4 patch. I think that came out in April. That was a while ago. Pretty sure, yeah, that was the last season that came out. They've basically taken almost all of those and implemented them into this version of D2RR, whereas before it was the way it was before the D2R 2.4 patch for original Diablo 2 Resurrected. So speed of the leap motion increased from 175, as in D2R 2.4. So they increased it up to 175%, which is exactly how it is now in current regular Diablo 2 Resurrected. Leap has a minimum jump height and duration. Tooltip updated to now display knockback radius. Tooltip updated to now display leap motion speed. Leap gains 5% speed from itself as synergy. Leap is now uninterruptible, which is really cool. I don't really play as a barbarian much, but you barbarian players out there, let me know if that helps you out a lot, because I mean, it sounds like making leap uninterruptible is a pretty substantial buff, considering probably would have been annoying to try to leap through enemies and they hit you and you just fall to the ground and look, you know, like a schmuck while you're doing it. Obviously now that's not going to happen to you anymore, so you should be pretty excited about that. Leap attack. Speed of the leap motion increased to 175%. Leap synergy added to leap attack. Increases leap motion by 2%. Leap attack now has a minimum jump height and duration. Attack rating baseline increased from 50% to 100%. That sounds huge. So again, that probably has something to do with the buff from 28 to 40% in terms of the increased attack rating. That sounds great. Attack rating per level increased from 15% to 20%. Tooltip updated to now display leap motion speed. The Barbarian now deals extra physical damage to surrounding enemies within a range of 4.6 yards when landing from a leap attack. Damage scales per level. Oh, that's nice. So not only are you getting that now, right, it's basically kind of a splash attack that goes in the range of 4.6 yards when landing from leap, and now that damage will be scaling per your level, which is going to help you out a lot too. Leap synergy bonuses applied to AoE damage in addition to the attack added 10% damage from whirlwind synergy for it to not fall off too quickly. Increased mana cost of leap attack from 9 to 10. Okay, so I guess that is the little nerf right there that they did to help even out all this extra damage you're going to be doing with leap. It's going to take a little more mana for you to actually use that now. Leap attack will be performed even when targeting adjacent enemies used to perform a basic attack. So I'm assuming what this means is, in the past, where you wanted to use a leap attack, sometimes it wouldn't actually come out. You would just do a basic attack, and maybe that had something to do with the game thinking you're not actually targeting somebody to do the leap attack, but you're instead just trying to hit somebody. So it sounds like they've fixed that, and they've made it so that you can use, when you push leap, you leap, right? Even if there isn't a person in front of you, you will now jump to the side of you wherever there is an actual enemy and actually use that attack now. Blizzard dev comments: leap attack has received a lot of changes. Increased movement speed, smoother trajectory, improved controls, and increased attack rating and damage. Perhaps the biggest change is that leap attack now deals AoE damage to surrounding enemies when landing. This gives the Barbarian a strong multi-target skill as early as level 18. This damage does not scale with your weapon, so it's perfect for leveling up a Barbarian in normal and nightmare difficulties. The AoE damage won't make as much of an impact on hell difficulty, but leap attack's primary attack and mobility will remain valuable. Yeah, so that all sounds pretty good for the Barb. Sounds like you guys got a win this time, especially adding in AoE to the Barbarian, which helps it out a lot. Paladin changes. Yeah, here we go. I'm pretty sure almost everybody here is either a Paladin or a Sorceress or a Druid. There seems to be a lot of Druid players. I don't really get it myself, but it's understandable. So here we go, Paladin changes though. Resist fire. Tooltip now displays max resist bonuses. Resist cold. Tooltip now displays max resist bonuses. Okay, I see where this is going. Resist lightning. Yada yada yada, you already know the answer to that. Blessed aim. Tooltip now displays passive attack rating bonus. Thorns. Now deals a flat amount of damage when attacked, in addition to returning a percentage of damage taken to the enemy when hit. Blizzard dev comments: we wanted to add more potential to the AoE damage since they are a capable way for the Paladin to handle groups of monsters. By increasing damage based on distance to the caster, each AoE damage aura will have increased effectiveness, while still maintaining the same cadence of visual VFX on the screen. Also, we saw that Holy Fire should scale better at higher levels to be consistent with general fire damage power compared to the other elements. For Thorns, we want to improve the gameplay around getting hit to deal damage, so we are making the skill deal flat damage based on attack attempts in addition to returning damage after getting hit. This will allow Thorns to have a more consistent combat performance instead of unpredictable and riskier results. Okay, so this is interesting. So I think what this is actually telling you is, in the past, you basically had to be hit by an enemy to deal Thorns to them. Because, you know, obviously you can miss in this game, right? Like, it has a dice roll built into the game mechanics. It's just something we don't really think about anymore, because it's just something that's not really commonly talked about, I guess. This was an older school game, so it still had the whole miss mechanic, right? Like the chance to miss when you were swinging at something, hence why we have attack rating. So it sounds like what they're actually doing here is they're making it to where if an enemy tries to attack you but misses, they're still gonna get hit for that thorn damage regardless. So that is definitely a buff to Thorns, and that is pretty cool. So moving on. Sacrifice. Damage to self now reduced per level from 8% to 8% negative 1%. Okay. Conversions. Maximum conversion chance increased from 50% to 90%. Smite. Tooltip now shows that the skill always hits. Yeah, that's it for the Pally. Let's move on to the Sorceress. So, Sorceress changes. Frost Nova. Damage level scaling increased about 25%. That's awesome. That means Frost Nova is going to be doing a lot more damage now. Blizzard. Casting delay will no longer share its cooldown with other skills that have casting delays. Tooltip updated to now display casting delay. So basically they're just telling you that the tooltip will now actually tell you when there is a casting delay. Let me read this again. So casting delay will no longer share its cooldown with other skills that have casting delays. So does that mean if you cast Blizzard and you cast another spell that also had a casting delay, it would prevent the next Blizzard from coming out until your current casting delay is off cooldown? You see what I mean? That's what it sounds like they're saying. I've never really felt like I've had that issue, but if that's true, then that would mean that you should be able to cast Blizzard more, regardless of if you're casting a different spell that also has a casting delay, because it's saying it will no longer share its cooldown with other skills that have casting delays. Excuse me for how many times I just said casting delays. Frozen Orb. Oh man, you aren't gonna like this. Casting delay will no longer share its cooldown with other... Yeah. Basically, they did the exact same thing to Frozen Orb that they did with Blizzard, which all around I would have to say is probably a win for the Blizzard source, because now instead of, I guess, taking a millisecond or two before you could actually recast Blizzard or Frozen Orb, it's going to cast regardless of what spell you just cast. So you can cast a spell that has a casting delay before that animation is up. If you want to throw up Blizzard, you should be able to do it now, is all it's really trying to say. So Frozen Armor, base duration increased from 120 seconds to 144 seconds. Yeah, I mean, that's cool, you know. It gives you about 24 more seconds from Frozen Armor. I don't really know too many people that put a bunch of points into Frozen Armor. Usually they hit Frozen Armor to get the Shiver Armor and Chilling Armor. So I myself play as a Sorceress all the time, but I'm more of a Nova Source. But I usually never use Frozen Armor except to get to the next armors. Shiver Armor, damage level scaling increased about 25%. That's huge. Damage level scaling increased about 25%. Base duration increased from 120 seconds to 144 seconds. Chilling Armor, damage level scaling increased by about 200%. That's a lot. 200% of anything is huge. So that is a huge win for Chilling Armor when it comes to the Sorceress. Duration bonus per level increased from 6 seconds to 12 seconds. Chill length bonus per level, 4 level, 16 plus, increased from 1 second to 2 seconds, matching Shiver Armor. So now Chilling Armor is going to get a bigger increase to the length that it gets after level 16, and it's going to now be roughly matching Shiver Armor, is all that's really saying. Defense baseline increased from 45% to 60%. Nice. That's really good. Defense bonus per level increased from 5 to 7%. Frozen Armor damage synergy increased from 7 to 9%. Chilling Armor damage synergy increased from 7 to 9%. Blizzard dev comments. With the Cold Armor skills, we want to further diversify them by ensuring that each has a distinctive advantage. After these changes, Chilling Armor will have the greatest defense bonus and damage potential, while still only triggering on ranged attacks. Also, Frost Nova is receiving damage scaling improvements to give it more power where it was lacking in the later game. This is the only one I really care about right here. Nova mana cost reduced. The initial mana cost is now 13 from 15. Great. I love it. Although I never really had that issue. I do in the beginning of the game, where I'm constantly chugging mana potions over and over and over again, but usually by late game I have better equipment to use where I have so much regeneration of my mana it doesn't really matter, but that's still a win regardless. Thunderstorm. Duration baseline increased from 32 seconds to 144 seconds. Duration bonus per level increased from 8 seconds to 24 seconds. Blizzard dev comments, we saw an opportunity to add new synergies for lesser used lightning skills to increase their damage potential and create new skill build possibilities. Inferno, base damage and level scaling increased by about 75%, also to compensate for the incorrect damage calculation in the past. Warm synergy increased from 13% to 16%. That is awesome. So warmth is getting a buff, while the synergies it gives is giving a buff, which is always good. Controls are updated so that the skill now casts in free form and no longer locks onto one target at a time. Mana cost baseline reduced from 7 mana per second to 4 mana per second. That's pretty good. I hate to skip back, but I just want to touch on this controls are updated thing. So it says controls are updated so that skill now cast in freeform. And what that means is you no longer need a target to cast Inferno. Basically, you could hold down the cast button on the ground and it should like continuously attack. So that's pretty cool. That's one thing they did in Median XL recently, was they changed it so that you could cast any skill now at any time. And instead of having to specifically target something, you can just cast on the ground and your character will constantly be casting whatever spell it is. I really like that they brought that to D2R because it's something that I feel is sorely missing. So last thing on here is range baseline increased by 75%. Blaze, damage scaling increased by about 60%. Great. Firewall, casting delay will no longer share its cooldown with other skills that have casting delays. Tooltip updated to now display casting delay. So basically, I'm not going to read Meteor because it says the exact same thing, and we just went over this a little while ago. It's looking like Firewall and Meteor are going to do the exact same thing I was just talking about with the casting delays, where you're no longer going to have to wait for a different skill to stop its casting delay before you can put out the next skill. So that's a win all around. Hydra. You can now spawn multiple Hydras on controller when holding the button down. Confirmation needed. Casting delay removed and limited max number of Hydra groups to 6. So you can only have out 6 Hydra groups now. I don't know why, but I've never been a fire source. I just don't like it that much. Not saying it's bad. I'm sure there's some really good fire source out there. There's probably a lot of good fire source builds out there. It just doesn't really interest me that much. But if you are a fire source, you are going to be doing a little bit better now. So that's a win for you too. Blizzard dev comments. We wanted to improve the lesser used fire skills. Oh, okay, so I'm not the only one that doesn't really ever use fire skills. Alright, so I don't feel so bad now. And give more reason to use them. Inferno is receiving player control improvements with freeform casting, like Arctic Blast, and better damage scaling. Blaze is an often ignored skill, so we wanted to free up synergy requirements and provide more utility and power with damage increases, and a new run-walk speed buff for extra utility. Lastly, with Hydra, we wanted to improve the gameplay of summoning Hydras to make it easier to use the skill in combat situations. The removal of casting delay and the new limitation on max Hydras will match the maximum Hydra count achievable from before the changes, but players now will have a much easier time to summon that amount. Nice. You won't have as much delay there, so you'll be able to summon your Hydras pretty quickly, and it won't be quite as hard for you to get out the max number of Hydras anymore, is all that's really trying to tell you. Okay, so we're moving on to the Druid changes. So, summoning. Druid summons HP is now the average instead of range. Spirits now have 25% PDR. Direwolf damage scale increased 30%. That is good. That is really good, because I actually made a video, I think it was about 2 or 3 days ago, talking about, I think it was a belt. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it's not coming to me right off the top of my head. But anyways, in that video I pointed out that Direwolf adds more damage to your Spirit Wolves. So now you're going to have 30% more damage put to your Spirit Wolves, which is definitely a good thing. Creeper 40% synergy to 10%. So I'm assuming that's a nerf. Creeper skill curve drastically increased. Creeper poison duration scaling removed. Always 4 seconds. Elemental. Molten boulder synergy with Volcano from 10% up to 12%. Volcano's physical damage synergy from 12% to 16%. Arctic blast skill, new skill curve. Twister scaling increased by roughly 50%. So it sounds like Twister's been buffed, Volcano's been buffed, but Arctic Blast is going to be harder to use. I'm not exactly sure why they would do that. I don't really play as a druid, but any of the druid players out there, if you want to jump in the comments and maybe explain that to us, I would be very appreciative. Shapeshifting. Maul has 3% attack speed per charge. Maul's damage per level up from 20% to 30%. Maul's AR base from 20% to 40%. Maul's AR slash level from 10% to 15%. From 10% to 15%. Rabies AR slash level from 7 to 10. Rabies synergy from 18 to 20. Shockwave synergy from 5% to 10. Fury's AR level from 7 to 10. Fury's rollback frames from 100% to 7%. Fireclaw's remove synergy from Fissure. Fireclaw's remove synergy from Volcano. So I'm assuming that this means Fireclaws will no longer be giving synergies to Fissure or Volcano. Not exactly sure, again, why they would nerf those. Was that like really overpowered or something with the druid? I'm not sure. Again, druid players, please help. Do you like this or do you hate this? Because I feel like if this was my class, I'd be pretty irritated right now. But then again, for all I know, those were overpowered to begin with. Fireclaw's base damage increased by 25%. Okay, well, I mean, that sounds pretty good. So hopefully that means that they are compensating for the rest of these nerfs by adding that buff. Remove duration on Werewolf and Werebear. They are now permanent and can be removed by casting the spell again. So yeah, so now they are permanent, and opposed to falling out of the werewolf form or the werebear form, at some point you're just going to stay either a werewolf or a werebear until you don't want to be that anymore. Lycanthropy no longer gives duration to werewolf or werebear. It now gives duration to Maul and Feral Rage, buffs at plus 2 seconds per level. Okay, so it looks like that is pretty much everything for the character class changes. And we will be getting into general fixes now. Okay, so general fixes. Rune and gem stacks sold to vendors cannot be brought back anymore. So that means do not screw up. Understood? Don't screw up. Do not sell your rune or gem stacks to vendors, because if you do, they're now gone forever. So don't make that mistake. Okay? Make it a point not to make that mistake. Reverted rune and gem stacks being treated as quest item change from pre-released build. So that actually makes sense, because I noticed the other day sometimes I will put the cursor over my gem bag and it will tell me that it's Worf's leg. I'm not exactly sure why it does that, but I'm assuming this will fix that, because I did find it kind of strange when I would be sitting there in the cube trying to, you transmute the grabber to get whatever gem you're trying to get, and every once in a while it would tell me that I'm looking at Worf's leg when I'm clearly looking at a gem grabber, and I always thought that was kind of strange. So it sounds like they got that fixed. Given back Gemmy type to perfect gems as it was in 1.2. Metamorphosis tooltip is bugged. It has a link right here. You can go and look if you want to know more about that. I'm not going to go and read that because I don't necessarily care, but it says fix by correcting column name in skilldesk.txt from item proc decline. I think they mean decline, not descline, because I'm pretty sure descline is like a different language. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I don't know if it's actually like that in the code or what they're really trying to say here, but I'm pretty sure either A, this is legit a different language and the word is supposed to be declined, or B, for some reason in the code it's written out that way. I don't know if someone just didn't know how to spell decline count for some reason, but I think this actually might be a typo, so I apologize about that. But it says that, and then it says as referenced in the official documentation. So if it isn't a typo, then I don't know who was making the code for this, but I'm pretty sure they did it in a different language. Anyways, added the file which handles terror zones. I'm not going to read out the whole .json file to you. It doesn't really matter. Just understand that they added the file which handles the terror zones. So that means that the terror zone should be acting the way they're supposed to be acting going forward. Custom menu changes. File name structure reorganized for easy sorting. All menus given a facelift, so that's nice. All skill changes are categorized according to which skill tab they belong. Skill changes. Titles were changed to skill tab names where applicable. Barbarian beautified. I'm kind of baffled on that one, but okay. So I guess the barbarian has now been beautified. So enjoy that new beautified barbarian. Druid cleaned up. Pally Holy Bolt and FOH change added. Sorceress Hydra change removed. Added Frozen Orb change. Amazon change added. To do. Submenus renamed to be determined. So anytime you go into the menu in game, sometimes it will just say to be determined on there. Those are just placeholders. They're currently trying to get all the recipes into the menus, including, you know, the different rune words and whatnot, because eventually they want to have it all put into a menu in game, so you don't have to go to the website anymore, and you can simply open up the menu and just see everything that's in the menu as opposed to having to go to the website. So look forward to that. Barbarian fixed leaped and leap attack description, reverted Reimagined chain on double throw, and instead used Blizzard's 2.4 version. Sword mastery renamed to melee mastery in the tables. Website should show it correctly with this fix. So instead of sword mastery, it is now melee mastery. I'm assuming that means that it for some reason was named sword mastery, probably when they were changing the files around to create the mod. Druid poison creeper synergy with rabies increased to 20%. With the 2.4 changes, it's about as powerful as it was in Reimagined 1.20. So basically poison creeper, the synergy is now higher and it's going to be a little more powerful. So let's go on to other changes. Set no limit for all uniques to 1 to enable uniques appearing multiple times in the same session, to make it harder to min/max for specific uniques with the new orb of conversion, or for example gambling. Don't know if I like that change. I was not aware that the set limit or that the no limit was set to something other than 1. So what this is telling me is before you can actually go in and farm for uniques, and as long as you didn't leave the game and come back, it wouldn't give you the same unique twice, making it easier for you to find the unique that you're looking for, simply based on the fact that you won't be able to get a duplicate unique. And I kind of like that, so I kind of wish it was still like that. And to be 100% honest with you, I kind of wish I knew that was a thing before I started playing the game, because I would have been abusing the hell out of that. Yeah, so that kind of sucks. But set level to an appropriate value in relation to level required, to reduce the drop chance of high level items by the item not dropping from low level enemies. This was somewhat regulated by the base items level inside armor.txt and weapon.txt, but with this change it is made sure. Rename the sets and set items so their names are displayed like all other sets and set items. Now they are represented with their actual name to make editing easier. Fix the code for some recipes from ring to rin. They made it so that ice arrows pierce by default. So I guess for some reason the ice arrows were not piercing by default. I'm happy they made that change. I assumed it was supposed to be like that from the beginning, so I'm not exactly sure what happened there. Amazon skills no longer use quantity of quivers. Okay. That's nice. Added 20% larger transmute button for the cube and moved it closer to the inventory screen. Now it is easier to click. So that's just telling you they made the button bigger and they moved it closer because, you know, you're always constantly, right, like going back and forth and, you know, putting things in the cube, taking them out of the cube. However you do it, some people drag and drop, some people, you know, they just push control and move things over. But moral of the story is they made the transmute button bigger and closer, so it will save you a few milliseconds here and there, which will give you more time to go out and kill things and find more loot. So that's always a plus and always a win in my book. Move the X button of the cube slightly to the left. So now it is part of its own UI like other X buttons. Added 25% larger gold button, adjusted its positions. It is easier to click now. So again, just like with the transmute, they're making it easier for you to click on it so that you can get out there and kill more things and get more loot. Changed name of potions to MP/HP 1 through 5 for easier identification of potion quality. So one of the changes I did notice when I came over from basically every other version of Diablo that ever existed was that they changed the health potions to like MP, which is like minor potion, HP just health potion, P just stands for potion. Sometimes you'll see GP, greater potion, SP, super potion. Instead of actually like having the whole word on there, what they're doing is, it sounds like what they're doing is they're giving you a numerical identification, so that now when you see something drop and it says like HP and it says 3 on it, you know, oh, okay, that's health potion, right? It says 3 on it, that'd probably be potion. But moral of the story is you're going to want to be looking for health potion 5, which is going to be super potions, and you know, all of us would rather have the biggest potion we can get, because then that way we can survive longer and we don't have to go into town as much to go get different kinds of health potions. Fixed amethyst stack coloring. Changed rune 20 through 33 coloring format. Rune name is orange like all other runes now. Pickup text is still in red. So that's another thing. I kind of like that though, the way that they changed the colors of the runes. The other day I was doing runs on the Countess and I saw a red text pop up and I instantly knew it was a higher rune than anything I'd found before, and sure enough it was a Vex rune. I was pretty happy about that. Can't believe I found a Vex rune while I was it was literally like the 4th time I'd killed the Countess in hell and she just boom dropped a Vex rune for me, so I was pretty happy about that. I like that they're keeping that in there because it helps me like identify, oh wait, I need to stop and actually look at this rune because I am over picking up ith runes. I see those all the time, in eth rune I see that all the time, and so I actually like the color thing there because it helps me realize that that's a high rune and I should probably pick that up. Makes it so stacked runes can no longer be sold to vendors. Okay, so that's good. So what I said earlier, you don't have to worry about anymore, because apparently they made it so that you can't even sell your stacked runes to vendors, which is good because that means you don't really have to worry about accidentally selling it to them and then losing it forever. Fixes a few corrupted orb recipes that were not intended to do nothing. So I guess some of the corrupted orbs that they were using were bugged to the point where it wouldn't even do anything. So thank God they fixed that, because that would be a huge bug that would probably piss a lot of people off if they didn't get that fixed. Fixes the inability to pull from a stack of 100. So I guess previously in the game, if you had a stack of 100, maybe 100 runes or something like that, it would not let you pull anything from that stack. I don't know if maybe that's something in the code just telling the game that you have 1 and not 100. And I'm not sure how they fixed this, but it could probably be that they made it so you get 99 instead of 100 now. I could be wrong. But that's my assumption there. Fixes the clickable area of the stash and cube to not send move commands when clicking on the background. I've done that actually. I've been in my stash and I would try to click on something thinking I'm clicking on something in the stash, and then next thing I know my character's running away from the stash and I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I'm actually happy they fixed that one too. Moving on. Unified crafting recipe name format in cubemain.txt. Added input and output to all recipe names in cubemain.txt. ordered recipe names in alphabetical order in cube.main.txt. Pretty much, I don't think any of us really care, so I'm going to skip forward a little bit. I'm not in there going through cube.main.txt to make sure it's all in alphabetical order for myself. I don't know why you would be going in there and trying to make sure everything was in alphabetical order. So it kind of sounds like they're just documenting that they made this change. I'm assuming for people who also mod the game, now they know. But for us, it's not really important. Disabled specific item level upgrade recipes. I want to introduce universal rerolled recipes for uniques/set items later in cube.main.txt. Added missing 1.11 rune words. So I guess some of the rune words were bugged, actually. Rune words that were previously in the game. I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but it seems that one of the patches after 1.11 somehow got rid of some of the rune words. But moral of the story is those rune words are back and you can use them again. Yeah, so that's a win. Again, not really sure how that happened or anything like that. I'm not on the dev team or anything, but yeah, so it's fixed. Don't worry about it. Appended Reimagined to old rune words that reuse 1.11 names. Changed original plague rune word to sword/dagger/H2H to make D2R. I don't understand that verbiage there, but maybe I'm an idiot. I'm not exactly sure what they're trying to tell us. Fixed shake to shell. Oh, shale. Oh, okay. So I guess for some reason shell rune was coming up as shake in principle reimagined. Fixed nihil poison vipers. No longer deal physical damage. Oh, okay. So I guess the poison vipers for some reason were dealing physical damage either as opposed to poison damage, or they were dealing physical damage when they should have only been dealing poison damage. But it's fixed now, so again, don't worry about it. Fixed non-terror zone Duriel loot table references. Duriel should drop items again in non-terror zone areas. That is great, because that is something I have been noticing for a while now, and I never brought it up in the Discord server. I probably should have, but I just never did because it was never that big of a deal to me, because I don't ever really go and kill Duriel for runs to try to get loot from him. But yeah, I've been noticing that for a long time, that every time I kill Duriel, I would literally never get any loot that would drop from him, and I thought it was kind of weird. But again, I didn't really care, because who really farms Duriel, right? I don't know anyone, unless you're playing Diablo 4, I don't know anyone that really farms Duriel. So unless it's a Terra zone, that's a whole different story. Adding descriptions to Orb of Socketing SAS conversion, which is good. In my video that I'm going to make soon, the one about the crafting recipes, I'm also going to try to explain orbs of socketing / conversion and orbs of corruption to you guys. These are things you're usually not going to find until you're in hell, and they are pretty rare, but they're really good. They really help out. The only thing I don't like about orb of socketing is it basically gives you a random socket number, whereas opposed to you just taking gems or jewels, and using however many jewels you want, so that you can put the number of sockets on there that you want to be on there. So I don't really use the orb of socketing much. I just use my jewels to make the weapon I need specifically. But yeah, so I will go over that though in a future video. New rune word scout. Helm only. Elnef. I'll have to go in there and look at that and see what that's going to give us, but I'm happy that we have another helm rune word that is 2 runes only, because I always seem to find helms, especially in normal and nightmare difficulty, that only ever really have 2 sockets, and I've always wondered why there wasn't more rune words for the helm that was 2 sockets. So it's cool that we're getting a new one. It might be overpowered, it might be underpowered. I guess we will see when we get there. New rune word, snowdrop, staff only. Okay, so it's only for a staff. Turthol inspired by Leaf. I'm assuming it's going to be similar to Leaf, and I'm happy we have another one, because that's another thing I think the game is lacking, which is going to be sorceress rune words. There really isn't all that many in the game right now. There never was, so I'm not really complaining, because even in original Diablo 2 there really wasn't many rune words for the sorceress, but now we're going to have a new one, which in my opinion is a win for the sorceress. Replaced all kill slash skill, level up skill, def skill, skill, O skill, blah blah blah. I think you get it. They replaced all these names for the uniques and sets for easier updating in the future. Fixed a few unique items and evil force instances. Removed the special arrows from Akara and Charsi that caused confusion with the crafted arrows recipes. When upgrading the exception slash elite, the level requirement is no longer artificially increased as well. That happened to me just the other day, where I upgraded an exceptional weapon to elite and all of a sudden my character level was too low to use the item. So be careful with that, but I'm happy they fixed it, because that has literally happened to me, where I no longer had access to a weapon I wanted to use because of my dumb decision to try to upgrade it from exceptional to elite. Fixes some resolution issues with smaller screens and the inventory slash cube screens. Swapping the set items perk of Axe Mastery to Sword Mastery, so it gives melee mastery in game instead of shield mastery. Wow, not exactly sure how that even happened, but at least they did fix that, so you do not have to worry about that one anymore. Swapped all entries of Sword Mastery to Melee Mastery to meet the new formatting of those skills. We already touched upon the switching from Sword to Melee Mastery, so it seems like that was implemented so that they could make sure that this mistake up here wasn't happening anymore, which is definitely a good thing. And then after that, we just kind of have some pictures showing you how the in-game menu looks now when you're actually in the game. Once again, this is stuff they're trying to add to the mod, where they're trying to make it more accessible for players to be able to look at these screens instead of having to leave the game if you don't have a second monitor and actually research and pull up the website to figure out what it is you're trying to find. Me personally, I have 2 monitors, so it never really bothered me at all, because I would simply look at my other monitor over here and just look it up that way. In fact, when I play the game, I usually just have the website pulled up, so if there's anything I need a reference, I can just pull it up right away. But yeah, so that's all this really is. This way you can just, push escape and then go to the menus, and you will be able to actually look at all those recipes. Well, what I should say is you'll be able to look at the recipes they have currently implemented, because there is a lot more recipes that's simply not in the menu even to this day, because it's a lot of information to port over. So I'm sure they're going to get it to a point eventually where you will be able to go into the menu and look for all this stuff. But for the moment, there will be things that have not been implemented yet. So just be aware of that. It's looking like that's pretty much it. I mean, other than that, it just shows you a before and after of the way a lot of these things they were talking about are. They look good. I think they look good. I think they did great. I'm looking forward to 2.0 patch when we start getting that. Whenever we get news about that, I will go ahead and update you guys too, so you know when it's coming. If I find out any early information about 2.0, I will also update you guys on that and let you know what's going on. And let me double check here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So if this video helped you, if you enjoyed being able to read the patch notes by just listening to the patch notes, I'd very much appreciate you hitting the like button, maybe subscribe. I hate to be that guy. Also, I want you guys to make sure you go buy Raid Shadow Legends, because Raid Shadow Legend, no, I'm playing, I don't do that crap. But anyways, everybody have a great night, and thank you for your time. Hopefully you enjoyed, and take it easy. Late. My mouth is dry.